Welcome to Tailgate Talk. Ritter, Wags, Tasker, boys all back together. Of course, Tailgate Talk brought to you by our friends at Bucker Outfitters. You can check them out, buckerarchery.com. We'll talk more about them a little bit later on. We got a lot of stuff to get to. I know, Tasker, you want to talk about some bug protection, hunting. There's a crazy development here around our studio to share. I got to recap a tournament from last weekend. We got bear hunters being attacked, giant muskies. But let's start, Paul Wagner, as the former major leaguer. Brewers, we as much as we're an outdoor show, we also are in Wisconsin, the Midwest. We're all big Brewers fans. It was the trade deadline this past week. How you feeling about how things shook down?
Oh my God, boys! I am obviously a former player. I don't see the management side. I don't like that side. I'm not part of it, and I really don't care about it. I am a fan, 100% a fan, and I absolutely hate the moves the Milwaukee Brewers made. But that being said, I respect that side of it and not being a part of it. As a fan, I think it's just mind-boggling. It's in a situation where we were talking on the other stations about what we're going to add, how we can take this team, which is 10 games over 500, 3 games ahead of the St. Louis Cardinals. How can this team take the next level and get to the World Series? Do we add an arm? Do we add a bat? Do we add an outfielder? Do we add... And then they go and trade the best reliever. And that's not just my opinion, your opinion. That's the best reliever in Major League Baseball for the last half decade. And I don't know. I know that for a fact that there's confusion in the Brewers locker room. I know that those players are upset. I know that their mind just they're going, what in the world is going on? So I could only imagine if I could have been a fly on the wall after the trade deadline in Pittsburgh when Craig Counsell had to address that team and that clubhouse.
Yeah, I maybe unpopular opinion, I actually liked the move at the time. I survived the 80s and 90s, and I remember what it was like. No offense, Wags, some of the teams you played on. There was not the greatest teams, and it sucks to see your team not be a contender every season. And we've gotten spoiled being contenders the last couple of years, and I kind of like to keep it that way. And unfortunately, if you have to send one of your best players to get something for him while you can, it's just what I guess has to be done. It's those difficult decisions that we as fans, I think, hate and sucks. Like, I love Josh.
But again, you're speculating. So you're speculating. We don't know. What if we win the World Series this year and the financial windfall comes to the city, regardless of sport? The financial windfall comes to a championship team, a la the Milwaukee Bucks. Look what happened there. Deer District, fans buying replica rings, just huge money flow. I'm not saying that that's totally out of the possibility, but it is a possibility. And you don't know that. And if it does come, you still have one more year of Josh Hader. Even if you don't want to pay him $15 million next year or whatever he gets, you could trade him there. You're speculating trade value, and that's what you did here. You took a championship caliber team with less than half the year to go in a perfect driver's seat situation to possibly win a World Series. And you just took, in my opinion, 2 steps back. I understand wanting to protect, and you want to be competitive. I do. I get that. We don't want to go through the bad years, but you have to know your fan base too. Now what? We looked at it this way when we were talking. We were speculating again. The average fan goes to what? The demographics show that 83% of the fan base in Milwaukee go to less than 5 games a year. They love Josh Hader. Everybody did. They're still going to go to their game, but now they go to 1 game or 2 games instead of less than 5. Now where is this all working? It's a hard pill to swallow. Your season ticket base probably will stay the same, maybe a slight decrease, but a fan is a fan. But those walk-up, per se, those quote-unquote walk-up ticket sales, those average fans, less than 5 games a year, where do they take their entertainment dollar? Now, do they go to the weekend Summerfest series, the state fairs, the local county fairs? I just think it was bad timing. This was a situation where we should have added and made that speculative move with Josh Hader in the offseason.
All right, you want to weigh anything, Tasker? I'm trying to use this to clear the air before we go. This is it's like Festivus. It's the airing of the grievances.
I don't know. I really liked Hader, and I knew that he was a good arm, and I was just a fan of him. So I think I'm too emotional when it comes to sports because I get very attached to individual players over the teams, and I hate to see a good guy go. And it's all. Yeah. I think Wags summed it up right. I'm certainly a capitalist at heart, so I want to see whatever is in the best interest of the team to be in the best financial position to be able to make those moves. Because what happens? They win a World Series or they make it to the World Series. They get that financial windfall, and what do they do with that capital? Then they can maybe acquire some additional talent after the season or whatever that is, but. We don't know what management is thinking. Maybe they saw something.
Like let's face it. We live in the Midwest. We live in Wisconsin. Whether you're here, Minnesota, Michigan, we're kind of just destined to be losers. We're kind of destined to just look down on things all the time and see the doom and gloom over the highlights.
I think so too, but I also think that the other teams, like we'll just talk specifically Milwaukee. The Bucks made some interesting moves, and they put themselves in a position to win. And I mean that's a whole different story. But I think that the Brewers might see that and say, "Hey, we have to take a risk on some of these guys, and we have to make that investment in the team in order to get to that next level." Yeah. That's the way I look at it.
Don't forget this. I don't, and you're right, and I don't mean this negative. I'm negative because I'm a fan, not negative. I don't understand the business, nor do I care to know about the business situation and what has to take place. But let's call it what it is. The elephant in the room is that a small market team, the Milwaukee Bucks, they got Giannis. The Green Bay Packers have Aaron Rodgers. The Milwaukee Brewers unfortunately had Christian Yelich, and Christian Yelich is a financial burden to this organization, and it's something that has to be addressed. Yeah. It's not what they plan to be. And unfortunately, in our small market Midwest area, the Milwaukee Brewers can't, and we are seeing now that they could not afford a poor financial judgment, because the Milwaukee Brewers are so analytical and data-driven. They almost take the human element out of every action they take. And they did it with this last year's, even with our number one draft pick. There's a lot of scouts that are old school scouts, and that's for a different discussion. But analytics and data-driven are supposed to be 99% right. And that's why this contract proposal and eventual signing by Christian Yelich was supposed to be a great thing for the Milwaukee Brewers and help them, propel themselves to the next level, where these analytics and data forgot to put the human element. Whatever the issue is with Christian Yelich, whether it's an injury, whether it's a slight, whether it's just the slow degressing of his abilities, I don't know what it is, because I don't talk to him about that. But whatever it was an unfortunate situation that didn't pan out for the analytical, data-driven Milwaukee Brewers, where they made a poor choice, unfortunately, and now they have to try to cover their tracks elsewhere. Josh Hader leaves. Who do we sign? Do we sign Corbin Burns or Brandon Woodruff? We can't afford both of them. We can't. So we're going to lose a starting pitcher. And that's why, if you followed baseball that much, you would see that is why they gave a friendly contract to an Andy Ashby, similar to that mirrored Freddie Peralta, signing younger guys to try to keep them to develop, because the Burns, Woodruff, one of those are going to be exiled out.
All right, I promise we're going to talk about outdoor stuff.
I love that. I love getting Wags started on baseball.
This is exactly. We've now been 9 minutes into the show, and we've talked about nothing but baseball. Okay.
I apologize.
I love that, though. I love it.
Everybody, air the grievances, get the anger out, get everything going, because we've got a lot of cool, fun stuff to talk about. I'm going to start with a text message that I got from our Eric Tasker yesterday. And it's simply read, if I can bring the message.
I don't even know if it's okay to go to air.
No, I was going to edit it appropriately.
Okay.
I think it was holy beep, and it was a picture, a blurry picture through, I don't know, what were you shooting that picture
I actually tried to get my binoculars and put my camera lens through my binoculars.
Okay, that's what I thought. In this picture was King. King has returned. And if you're unfamiliar with the fable of King, there is a giant 10-pointer that has been in around where our studio here is in Greenfield for the last, was it 3, coming up on 4 years now. We've seen him multiple times, just a massive, gigantic, the most beautiful, picturesque deer you've ever seen. And that rack has grown even more this year.
Yeah, and honestly, I was trying to go back and kind of decipher. I stood there for about 10 minutes and watched these deer. And my first text message was, "Oh my God, he's back."
That's what it was. "Oh my God, he's back."
And then it was, "Oh my God, there's a twin." And then, "Oh my God, there's a third one." There were 3. I'm not kidding. There was well over 400 inches of antler on these 3 deer. It was the most impressive 3 deer that I've ever seen together. And it felt like I was watching a hunting show.
And
it was
right here.
So incredible.
That's so cool.
That 6 second, I couldn't. You only sent me one. You sent me 1 6. I think it was a 6-second clip.
Yeah. I'll send you the rest of them. And they sat there, they bed down, and I don't know if that one that I sent you guys was King because he was already kind of in the brush. I want to say that was the mid-sized of the 3, and I'm not even kidding. I swear from the skull to the tips of the G2s was 20 to 24 inches tall. It's just a magnificent animal.
The best part about all of this, Swags, is just how excited Tasker is now. Like, as if he wasn't excited enough for bow season. You are just like a dog ready to pee on the rug, so excited.
Put me in a tree stand, baby.
I love it.
So that was really cool. There were 3 of them. There was, of course, our friend King. There was that mid-sized one, and then there was a smaller one. And I can't even say that it was small because it was at least a 6. It could have been an 8, but I mean, it still had 10-inch, G2, G3. And it was so cool because they just sat there, not a care in the world. The one saw me get out of my car and just stand there for a little bit and stared at me, which is when I took a couple of those pictures. After I texted you, I immediately texted my wife and said, "I need one of those magnifying lenses that I can attach to my
Yes.
phone."
Well, they actually
it's impossible to do that.
There's a little thing it fits right over your phone that you can you perfectly slide up to. I know they make them for spotting scopes. I believe they have them that your binoculars can go to it as well.
Yeah,
like a smaller one. Put your binos to it.
I'm buying one. I was looking on Amazon yesterday, and I'm like, they're like $20. I'm freaking buying one.
So, all right. Well, now that everybody's aired their grievances, they've been angry, they've gotten excited, gotten ramped up. We're going to take a break. We're going to circle back. We got to get to a lot of stuff. I got attorney to recap. We're going to talk about bug protection of the woods and tailgate talk. Brought to you by our friends at Buck Rub Outfitters, Buck Rub Archery off of Silverdale Road in Pewaukee. You can go check them out. The outdoor 3D course is open, ready to rock and roll. Get you ready for bow season if you're looking to get you set up with some arrows, some new gear, whatever you're talking about, some broadheads. They've got it all. Even a new bow. They've got you some of the best brands, all at Buck Rub Outfitters. Go and check them out, buckabarchery.com. Ritter, Wags, and Tasker. You can follow us, by the way, on socials, at On the Tailgate. I'm at The Real Ritter. At Wisco Bow Hunting is Eric Tasker. And, all right, we were talking about King back and the return of him. Hunting season right around the corner. But, I mean, this is an absolutely crazy story that I just came across. There's some bear hunters that just got attacked. Not by a bear.
Oh, jeez.
61-year-old woman is facing multiple charges after allegedly spraying 3 hunters with bear spray near the small town of Groton, Vermont. Local authorities say the Vermont resident was noted that the local houndsmen, they were out, bear hunting with dogs, were near her, and she did not like where they were on the state forest where they were, and she tracked them down, used bear spray, and sprayed them. Yes, attacked them.
Perfect. Wonderful.
Oh, I read that. It was one of those perfect clickbait things when it's like bear hunters get attacked, and I'm like, oh boy, I need to click this. And then I find out it's by an old angry lady, and I'm like, oh, there it is. There's the catch to it.
So what's the self-defense protocol there? Are you able to retaliate in any way, or
I don't know. I mean, are you going to be able? Yeah, I mean, are you going to be able to retaliate after getting sprayed with bear spray, which is essentially just an amped up, OC, oil resin capsicum spray? It's pepper spray, just amped up.
So what if they took the pepper spray and sprayed her back, and then she filed a lawsuit against them?
The world is a crazy place.
That's what would happen.
People
we all
gone
know
and
that's
have just
what would happen.
Gone absolutely bonkers crazy is the moral story that I get from that. It's bonkers. Here, let's move on here since we're headed off to Canada here in a couple of weeks, and we're going to be after some big fish like muskies, and this actually happened to take place in Ontario. Nearly 60-inch muskie was caught on a Lake Ontario. This is crazy. Apparently, the muskie was boated by Captain Gene Bolton of Sunken Treasure Fishing Charters on Lake Ontario. 59 7/8 inches, estimated weight around 65 pounds. Here's the crazy part to me. They were actually trolling for walleyes on the main lake, and the muskie hit a purple Berkeley flicker minnow.
Wow.
So, Wags, for all of the giant baits that you're slinging around and throwing your arm out with, all you need is a purple flicker minnow to catch a big muskie, apparently.
And probably a 12-pound test floor or something like that.
Right, exactly.
Something that unbelievable.
Speaking of baits, I thought this was interesting. I want to bring up real quick as well, too. Apparently, there's a company that wants to make baits out of sand. This is out of Elkert, Germany. This is a company that says that they come up with this patented composite, which they're using protein, which is rich with all kinds of flavors and colors and things, and sand to create this non-toxic composite, which they say is practically edible and totally safe for humans, fish, and water. It's 100% environmentally friendly, and if lost in the water, it completely dissolves after 48 to 72 hours, and it completely dries out once it's out of the water.
Okay, so initially I was concerned, but if the Germans are making it, the engineering has to be right.
It is the best. German engineering is by far the best engineering. You are correct about that.
So what if you have like a whole day of fishing on the water and you're using this thing? If it dissolves in 48 to 72 hours, at what point do you start to lose?
Right. What's the rate of breakdown just from being in water? That's I'm curious the exact same thing.
Is your treble hook, is your barbs made out of sand?
No, it's just the actual the body, the hard body of the bait.
Okay, so you lose the bait body in the water, it gets snagged on a log, it's in the log. All of a sudden, boom, there's treble hooks just laying there, but no body bait.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be worried about the disintegration on that.
Well, I think the positive we're looking at is like the random situations where fish swallow baits.
Sure.
And I mean, we've all seen pictures of fish that have been cut open and all the, soft plastics in their stomach and how those just never disintegrate and never go away.
Yeah.
This being some sort of thing that can disintegrate.
No,
and
they
so
just
it's
got
not
the treble hooks in their stomach.
I mean, treble hooks break down. I mean, there's all the, stuff that's within the fish oil and fish's mouth. I mean, the treble hooks disintegrate out of fish and they clear and pass, treble hooks and wire and stuff all the time. But for some reason, the baits themselves just don't.
Just clog.
All right, that's all the crazy random news that I've got to talk about. Should we, real quick, while we're rolling along here, recap on what I learned about being a moron last week on?
Yeah, I followed along, man. I was nervous for you. I was curious what was happening. Rusnak and I were, texting back and forth, and we had our grad party for our youngest, and all of a sudden I get a couple text messages in a row from Rusnak saying, he's on the board, he's on the board. I'm like, oh, man. All right, well, at least he's, not getting skunked today.
Well, and I feel bad. If I'd have known you guys were following along, I would have been a little more live with updating. Because in kayak fishing tournaments, it's, you take your picture, you enter it, this and that. I was sandbagging a bit. Like, I was in the flurry of things and trying to catch fish, so I usually submit a little bit later, if I have time. So, like, when I submitted finally is when I was making my run across the lake, which I think was my ultimate dumbest decision that I made the entire day. Were you out in the water last Saturday, Wags? I know you said you were going to be up in the Winnicott area.
I was, and I did look, but I did not see any kayakers. I did not see you.
No, so it was stop number 3, Great Lakes Kayak Fishing Series. It was the Wolf and Fox River systems. I kind of figured that everyone was going to be fishing up in the Wolf River, and they were going to fish in that area. So I thought, I'm going to do something different because, again, this is my year. I'm just jumping in a few, and so I can swing for the fences. I've got a lot of history in and around Lake Winnicott, and there's some specific areas that I've done really well with from a co-angler side out of a boat. And I've got a lot of, stuff in my brain that I know can work. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to step away from everyone else. I'm going to swing for the fences. And which is weird, me being the smallmouth guy that I am and love fishing smallmouth, I said no to fishing smallmouth. I'm going to go fish largemouth on Lake Winnicott. As I find out now towards the end, I was the only person that was not Like, there were two guys that fished around in Poygan, but right where the Wolf River dumps into Poygan. So they were basically still in the Wolf River. I was the only guy that was like, I'm way by. I was the farthest from everyone.
Yeah.
You know, again, just doing my own thing, swinging for the fences. The worst part about it is I had the fish to place very well. I think I had the fish to at least be top 10, and I had the fish for big bass. The big bass fish, I lost next to my boat, and it was so frustrating to watch that fish sit there on the surface for a second, realize that he just got off, and go. And it was on a frog, and it was one of those tournaments where I was tested mentally. And if anyone's ever done any sort of fishing in tournaments, and I think anything in the outdoors, you're a bow hunter, I think you can relate to it too. The mental game is such a big part of it.
Yeah.
And I just failed mentally. Yeah, and I try and stay on top of my game and try and make the right decisions. So basically my plan was I wanted to get out, and I was going to go into a cut, an area that I've done really well, and I know there's a lot of stuff that I can frog in there. It's a place where I've known that I can probably go in there, and I should be able to catch a limit of 5, like 12 to 14-inch fish with no problem. Super easy, done it so many times. So my plan was to go there, get a limit, and then make a run all the way across the lake into a little spring-fed bay area that's going to be all chalked up with, again, a bunch of slop and a bunch of lily pads, and there's some big bass that I've caught out of there. So my plan is I'm going frogging. I'm like, I'm going to win it with big green fish frogging instead of catching smaller smallmouth in the river. So I quick run over that cut, and I go to get going, and I'm struggling for a while to get it going. And I'm like, something's not right. This is not right. I don't know what's going on. I'm, flipping a shaky head with a worm, and I've done really well with shaky head and worm in there. That's not working. So I still got the chatterbait, on standby. And so there's an area where it kind of opens up in 3 inlets all kind of come together in this one big open area. And they just kind of always seem to stack up in there.
Sure.
So I start throwing a chatterbait in there. Bam, I get that one. Quick measure, get it going. I throw back in. Another one comes falling right to the boat, and just at the boat, swipes at it and misses. And I'm like figure 8 and trying to hope it's going to hit again. It swims off, won't go. I sling another cast out there, and another smaller one comes flying right at the boat. And as soon as it gets to the boat and I think it's going to take the bait, it just stops and turns around. So there, I've missed the hook set on one. I've had one chase me to the boat. I've only caught that one. So I'm like, okay, well, at least they're in here. Let's just keep going. So I start fishing through, and I turn down one of the cuts, and I'm slinging the bait in there. And about my 4th or 5th cast down that way, another one, I see it chasing my bait, and it swipes at it, and I go to set the hook, and I pull the hook right away from it. So there's another missed fish that I have. I'm like, jeez, what am I like? Come on, that's 2 already missed. I've got 1, and it's not like they were small fish. They were decent, like 14 to 16-inch fish, which is where I was looking to get on the board with some of those, and then have that kicker 18, 20-inch largemouth that was going to help me out. So I instantly sling right back in the same area, and I start apparently forgetting how to throw a bait caster. And I think I spent a half hour undoing backlashes. And one was so bad that eventually I just pulled it out and pulled up my scissors and just snipped it. And I probably lost 50 yards of line. It was just, I mean, I've never done that to myself. It's like I've never fished. I couldn't believe it. I was sitting there just like, this is like ridiculous. What is going on? And so I come back around after dealing with all that mess. I'm like, okay, well, it's like coming up at 9:30. Like, there's still a lot of day left. There's got a lot of time. Yeah. I'm going to come around this other side. I want to fish again that big main area again. I'm going to bring out the frog. I'm going to start hitting some slop down this other patch. And I get out, and I start throwing in the big open area again. Another fish comes at it, and thump, and I go to set the hook, and I miss it again. There's 3rd missed fish. Had 1. So there I should already be at 4 in the boat. Plus, the other 5th one that came and, just turned away. So, I mean, I had fish there, okay? Then I get to the slop area, I start slinging a frog, and I'm getting like a couple of swirl. I'm like, oh, this is going to happen. I'm going to get some frog in here. This is perfect. I reset, and I, squeeze my hollow body frog and sling it back in under this tree, and like hop, 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 swoosh, a huge blow up. My tip for frog fishing, and I taught myself this a while ago, the first reaction is to set the hook, and normally you yank the frog away. Yeah. As soon as I hear that splash and I see the blow up, I actually say out loud to myself, 1, 2, and on 2 I give it the hooks. To give that pause, to let the fish grab it, make sure it's in the mouth, and get the fish down, and I give it to him. And I'm using a full heavy rod. In the video, it's going to go on my YouTube channel. I sent a quick snippet to you, Tasker. I mean, you see the broad bend. And that's a heavy rod. I laid it to it, and that was a nice fish. And I quick wrench it out, and I get it right next to the boat. And just as I'm going to sit down and reach back and grab my net, head comes up to the surface, and it just does one little shake of the head, and the frog comes right out of the mouth. And I'm sitting there, like, right next to me. It's on the surface water. Like, if I could have thought fast enough to reach my hand in and try and grab it, it was easily 19, 20. It was right there on that line. Bass, and just right back down. So there's another missed fish. It just... How do you come back from that? And that's what I'm saying, the mental side. It's like you got to get back in the game and you got to get into it. And it was so hard for me to reset and do it. I did. I fished hard through the very end. But at the end of the day, I never should have then tried to make that run across the lake to go to that other area that I wanted to go to, because eventually I ended up changing my mind and not going there anyway, because I wanted to fish some stuff around the boat ramp before the end of the tournament, so I couldn't go too far. It just, I got myself caught up in trying to do too much and stretching myself too thin. I should have just stayed in that area and fished that small area and picked it apart all day long, but I wasn't patient enough because I had too much history in other spots that I wanted to get to. So I only ended up with that one fish. I had that one on the board. Wow. It was like the worst, most mentally draining day on the water for me that just made me feel like I've never fished in my life. And I'm like, it was still fun. It was a great learning experience. I don't think I'll ever try and stretch myself out like that again. Obviously, also now going forward in fishing, a full series next year, in fishing for Angler of the Year, I won't be swinging for the fences like I was.
Be doing the smart stuff.
Exactly. I'm making smarter moves, but to legit lost 4 fish and only caught 1, that was one of those ones where you just felt like you got kicked in the pants.
I think what's hardest for you and for us to hear about it is that you have video of all this stuff. Yeah. So to see it all again and have to relive that, I don't know. I wouldn't even be able to watch the video. I'd watch it once, and then I'd be like, all right, I just don't need to see this. I don't need to keep this for records, or I've got the mental note of
I forgot
those. And
I forgot about one. I forgot about actually the first fish in the morning. Before I got into that cut, I fished my way in and fished outside in, kind of a point that comes up before it. I had a fish, a bass, go airborne like air jaws. So if you're familiar with Shark Week and watch Shark's Breach,
that's one of my favorite segments.
Hit and came so hard, it came out of the water hitting, it hit the bait and threw so much slack into my line, I couldn't set the hook. So it hit it, and when I went to set the hook, the bait was just up in midair basically, and I just yanked it away. That was freaking cool to see. I have never seen a bass just absolutely torpedo a bait like that. It was so cool. So there's 5 fish I missed. Legitimately, 5 fish that hit that I missed.
Wags, have you ever had a topwater blow up like that?
No, I love listening to it because I can just imagine the frustration, especially Ritter, with your just everything. How you're probably sit back down. You're like, what in the hell just happened? What did I do? Why did I do this? And thinking about it as you throw out your next cast, as we always do, whether you miss an arrow, even going to baseball, your last pitch, you think about what happened, and it weighs on you. It is a mental game. Whether you're hunting, fishing, bird hunting, shooting mallards or geese or turkeys or whatever it is, we all let our heads get into it, and we start to think, and I think that's just human nature. And I can only imagine you just spinning there counting as we go right now. You just found another fish.
I actually thought of you, Wags, because it's exactly that, of how do you mentally stay in the game? I think of it being like a pitcher, and you throw a ball and it gets hit out. How do you then settle in and just keep pitching and throw that next ball?
Exactly. It's hard. A lost animal, a lost baseball. It's hard to turn the page, and everybody says it's just forget about it. Forget about it. You can't. It's a hard thing.
I'm gonna go, cry a little bit and feel sad for myself. I'm at the Real Ritter, like as in fishing reel, at Wisco Bow Hunting for Eric Tasker. So we've talked about my fishing tournament, done, over. I'm not crying about it anymore. You brought up a point of something you had texted to me, and I believe it was Resnick was into the conversation earlier this week about bugs and bug protection, because bow season coming up, getting ready for it. And, of course, early bow season, always you're going to have mosquitoes and ticks and all these sorts of things.
I went down this rabbit hole of just, getting ready because we're heading up north this weekend, check our cameras and everything. And I learned a bunch of stuff about ticks. I learned a bunch of stuff about the difference between DEET and permethrin. And I guess we'll start with a couple different things. So a typical life cycle is really interesting for ticks. I'm mostly going to talk about ticks, I guess. But they a couple things with them. Their life cycle, the first year, they're basically growing and feeding on leaves and water until they actually have some maturity and some size to them that they can get out and find a host to feed on, which, everybody just thinks that, they're just bloodsuckers and that's just what they live on.
Right.
But they have to actually grow and get to maturity, and they're only 6-legged creatures in their first year. So after they make it through the first winter, they grow their their last 2 legs, which actually makes them a part of the spider family then. And they will then make it to their third year. Their third year, the females can lay between 1,000 and 5,000 eggs.
That's insane.
And as soon as the females lay that batch of eggs, they die. So they have a very short life cycle. But what's interesting about that is that after they do that, they die, which, that's similar to like a bee sting or something like that, where, they have like that one major event in their life and then they're done. They also only need to eat once a year. Isn't that wild?
That is strange.
So they feast once and they can live for the entire year then.
It's like they have the biggest Thanksgiving dinner ever and just live off of it.
Yeah, and sometimes they'll actually attach themselves to a host and just stay there, like you see a lot of times, pictures of deer that have these big, like, blood swells on them, and it gets pretty gnarly, But what they typically do is they'll either, be able to feast on them and then they'll go and try and mate, or they'll live in like tall grasses and things like that. If they don't, it's kind of amazing to think that you only need to eat once a year. Even though they're such a small creature, they just fill up with blood and they're able to survive on that.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So when you get bit by a tick, you think typically, something's trying to burrow into your skin. The reason you don't feel that is because they have a saliva that they actually put on your skin, which is a numbing agent, and you can't feel them actually biting through your skin surface then. So it's like this devil juice that you just don't have any idea about, and then all of a sudden you just see it on your body. The other thing with that is that they have this crazy saliva that kind of acts as a numbing agent, but they also have like an antifreeze in their system where they don't freeze in winter. So people might think that, we just got it, they die off every year and they regrow and they, hatch their eggs and everything. It's much more complex than that. They can actually either live on an animal, on a host for the winter, or if they're not actually attached to anything, they have this antifreeze type blood system where they can't freeze. So you can't freeze them out. You can burn them out, but you can't freeze them out.
Familiar. That's what we used to do when we'd find ticks up north. You'd pull them off and then, light the match and burn them with the match. That's what we always did with ticks all the time.
Yeah. And then, everybody always thinks about them having Lyme disease. They actually get it from a white-footed mouse, which is a very common forest-dwelling creature across the entire country.
Ticks get Lyme from the mice and then pass the Lyme to humans.
Yeah. And there was a study, and there was something that was being done on Martha's Vineyard, the island, up on the East Coast, where they actually wanted to genetically modify 100,000 of these white-footed mice and release them on Martha's Vineyard and have them reproduce with the regular mice, but they were the genetically modified ones, and it would actually prevent the transfer of Lyme disease. Of course, the people of Martha's Vineyard, all these people with these multi-million-dollar estates,
want mice,
have no interest in 100,000 mice being let out on the island.
Right.
But it's something that people are advocating for, and they're trying to figure out ways to prevent the spread of Lyme disease. It's just another way of thinking outside of the box for science to actually work in its natural form and try and prevent some of these diseases from going around.
It's amazing that science can do things like that.
Yeah. The other thing that I found out is, some people might think, hey, as soon as I have a tick that's embedded on me, do I immediately need to go in and start getting antibiotics, or do I need to start getting blood tests and things like that? The first thing with that is it typically won't transfer the disease for at minimum like 48 to 72 hours. It's not an immediate thing.
Remember the big welt I had in my arm last fall? And that went in obviously something bit me. Something got me, don't know what it was. And they said, well, wait 2 days, come back for, a full blood panel so we
Sure.
can check you for Lyme's disease.
And
because
that's
of that.
what it is because they have to wait. It actually has to take, a couple days for that to transfer. If you catch it, within the first week, you're probably going to be fine. It's just a simple doxycycline antibiotic. If you wait too long and you start to get kind of like what you had, where it's like that bullseye kind of a swelling around it and redness, it usually is not good news, and you might have to be on an extended antibiotic depending on how long it's happened. But, I think where people run into an issue is that they don't realize that they have this on them. If it's not a visible part of their body, that's when they typically have an issue with it.
Mine was so strange because I wasn't even in the woods or hunting or anywhere near anything. Any time leading up to this, it was just random where it was like, I don't know. The only thing I could think of was I feel like it was spider or something.
Yeah.
Because I did fall asleep outside on my patio. One evening, I've been known to occasionally take the dogs out in the middle of the night, and I might lay down on one of our patio couches, and I've dozed off a bit. It's happened a few times.
I thought it was rum and cokes. But...
No, just take the dogs out. I'm still tired. And I'm like, because the Schnauzer has to smell everything before he can use the bathroom.
Sure.
So I got to let him just sniff around. It's like, I'm going to lay here and just close my eyes, and I've woke up a little while later. It's like, oh, I should go in the house. Oh, wow, a half hour has passed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a crazy thing, and it's just something that's so easily missed because there's so many parts of your body that you can't actually see yourself. Lyme disease is the most popular one that people know about, but there's also a disease. They carry about 5 different diseases. Lyme's disease is the most common form. One that really freaked me out was this disease that is typically referred to as alpha-gal, but the, technical term is alpha-galiosis.
Okay.
How would you like to not be able to eat red meat ever again?
Yeah, no, I'm out. Hard pass.
It's an allergy that is developed from this disease to red meat. So, we all love hunting, we all love steaks, we all love all of that stuff. You actually develop a serious and severe reaction similar to people with shellfish and things like that you would have never had before. And that's one of the diseases that they can actually transfer. So for that reason alone, I'm out.
Yeah, hard pass. I need to have cow and pig and venison and hard pass on that one.
So with all of those things considered, there's a lot of different ways that you can kind of prevent this and different steps that you can take. And I'm just so excited.
I like how you went through all the scare.
This.
You went through all the scare stuff. You got us all okay, here's all the bad crap about ticks.
Doesn't this sound like a sales pitch for one of these products?
That's what I'm waiting for.
I could work for Repel, or I could work for Thermacell, or you can tell that I do these presentations often, right?
Right, yeah.
So there's 2 main things, and we're going to talk about this. I know that you were kind of waiting, and I kind of voiced my opinion via text message about it.
Yeah, so go ahead.
So
share your
there's
opinions.
permethrin and there's DEET, and there's 2 very distinct differences between them. And I think permethrin has gotten a ton of love in recent years because of the effectiveness of it, and the studies have proved that now. DEET has been around for forever. The nice thing about DEET is that it's a very, very commonly known thing. It's been around since 1945. They developed it for the U.S. Army as they were going abroad, and they were going to all of these foreign places to try and help with disease prevention. The difference between DEET and permethrin is that DEET is more of a scent repellent. It's a scent type repellent. So you have a insect, a mosquito, a tick, whatever that might be, that comes close in contact with your body. They smell the DEET, and in their mind, it tells them there's no blood at this source. I'm going to just go away. There's no point in actually trying to, find this host and actually attach to it. So that's more of a scent type repellent. One of the things that I thought was interesting about it is, you can get 5%, 10%, 25, or 100% DEET. Is there is no difference in the effectiveness of the repellent on it. It's just that it may last longer. We
were strong believers of the 100%, or it's technically 98.11%, whatever DEET.
It is. Yeah.
You could feel yourself getting cancer just using it. It's that ridiculous, but it worked great. I mean, I've used that a ton goose hunting in fields. You know, mosquitoes would be ridiculous early goose season and stuff. So we would always use 100% DEET to try and just keep the mosquitoes and other bugs away while we're trying to hunt.
Sure.
That was until Thermacell.
Yeah.
And seeing the amazing benefit of just keeping a Thermacell in your layout blind.
Yeah.
And like then standing outside and actually seeing a physical bubble of the mosquitoes would just cloud.
Yeah.
They would just film. This bubble would be over your blind. Mosquitoes wouldn't be in it. It was great. So that's what made me a firm believer. And I stick with Thermacell now. That's all I use for anything is a Thermacell.
Yeah, I've been a strong believer in that ever since I used it last year in early season. My dad is typically in a ground blind for bow season, so he is actually pretty well covered. He doesn't really have much of an issue with bugs getting inside of the blind. So he let me use the Thermacell, and I just hung it right behind me. And I didn't put any bug spray or anything on because I was concerned about scent. And I didn't really know about permethrin at the time. And the thing that I'll probably end up doing this year is kind of a combination of the two, because as opposed to DEET being a scent repellent, permethrin is a contact repellent. So what happens when an insect actually comes in contact with permethrin is that it is a sensory reaction that their nervous system can land on permethrin, land on your clothing, your hat, your skin, whatever. They land on it and they immediately start to feel a reaction within their body that has them jump off.
I don't even want them landing on me. I don't want them near me. That's why I love the Thermacell so much. Because the mosquitoes just irritate me. You think about it. They're flying around, hitting your face, and just hearing a bzz, bzz near your ears. It's irritating. Thermacell, stay away from me.
Right. And so because it is a contact repellent and not a scent repellent, it is 100% odorless, which is a huge advantage for bow hunters.
Correct.
So, and it binds to your clothing so you can wash your clothes, do all of your scent killer stuff, whatever your process might be, spray it on your clothes and let it dry. It works both ways, wet or dry. But the nice thing about it is that it can last like 6 to 8 washes depending on how heavy you put it on. So even if you go through a couple washes with it, you don't have to worry about reapplying it every time, which is another huge advantage. It's something you don't have to, think about every single time that you go out to the woods. That reaction that they talk about, that nervous system reaction, is called hot feet syndrome. So there's actually videos that you can see on YouTube where there's like a black fly or horse fly that will actually land on your clothing, and it will kind of do a dance because it's reacting with their system, and it will then fly away. So the answer to that then is, like I said, a combination of both of them. So what they found in all of these different studies that they've done for deer hunters is putting permethrin on your clothing, but putting DEET on your skin. So anything that's exposed, necks or face or, hands or, whatever, to actually put DEET on those parts of your body, you're putting it on in a much more limited fashion. Yeah. Typically, you're wearing long sleeves. Typically, you might have a neck gaiter or something on. But just to prevent that constant swatting and feeling like things are on you, putting DEET on your skin and then putting permethrin on your clothing.
Interesting.
So it was like a really super, super informative. I was sitting there writing notes down and thinking about all of these different things.
You're quite the researcher, Eric Tasker.
Boy, I started looking and I just got carried away. And
do you, on your Thermacell, do you use the earth scent pads?
I think I know I have both of them. If we're in the backyard, I just use the regular blue pads. Yeah. And then if we go out to the woods, I believe I had the earth scent ones.
Yeah, I love the earth scent ones, and they legit just smell like dirt. It's kind of crazy, kind of cool. So.
And they say that those blue ones are scent free, but they're not scent free.
No, there's a bit of a
smell them.
Well, I mean, that's how a Thermacell works, right? It's the same thing as DEET. Yeah. It's a scent repellent. It's the the little burner that causes the heat element to heat up, and that's what makes the scent distribute out of it and stuff like that. So I'm a big Thermacell believer. Absolutely love mine. Will not be in the woods without it for any of early bow season because I had one situation last year. The one day where I went mobile on the ground early,
Yeah.
just hunt my way in, scope things out. I kind of sat in an area, just parked down on the ground in some brush, and I forgot the thermocell that day, and I was eaten alive.
It's the worst.
I'll never make that
man.
mistake ever again.
Yeah.
Never, never, never.
So, are you telling me you're not a permethrin guy and you're not a DEET guy? You're a thermocell guy?
Thermocell only, and if I am, I'm doing 100% DEET. That's the only thing I have. I'm pretty much just a thermocell person. I really don't do much other than that. I hate the smell of bug spray, which is why finding the thermocell was great to just have
Which
that.
is why permethrin's perfect for you.
Right, but
Because it's scent-free.
spraying on my clothes, I don't really spray on my. I don't know. I guess I just don't bother. I think I have the thermocell. I'm fine.
Yeah.
And most of the time, most of my hunting I do is when it's much colder.
Later anyways.
Yeah, I'm much more the late hunter anyway. Well, it's still early now when the bugs are crazy. I'm on the water.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with things.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's such a relevant thing right now, and a lot of people are getting their trail cameras set up, or they're doing, some of their last scouting before they really kind of shut it down and stay out of the woods. If there's anything that we can do to help people not have an issue, it's simple pieces of information that people can actually take and use and implement right away.
Well,
So.
I appreciate all the info you've given. It's been very informative, instructor.
You're welcome.
Or,
Okay, so you're going to
Professor
buy
Tasker.
a thermocell, not DEET or.
Well, I already own my
permethrin,
thermocell,
yeah.
but I've actually been looking. I want to get one of the patio thermocells too, to just keep outside. Because my wife is such a believer in thermocell too, and especially now as we get towards the fall nights, we'll be able to sit outside and shoot a bit in the backyard. It'd be nice to have a thermocell. I guess I can just put mine out there, but if I can leave mine in my gear bag and not have to worry about my thermocell becoming your release, then we're all good.
Yeah. I like how you slid that in there. Did you see I just keep it right on the handle now?
Yes. Yeah, I keep mine right on my bow. You keep yours on your case handle. That's good stuff. Make sure you never forget that release.
Because then it's a visual thing. I can always just look back and see in my trunk, oh, yeah, okay, I got it. I know that it's on there. So.
All right, well, that's where we're going to wrap up the show up this week. Now that everybody's all ticked off, as we're going to call it. I'll be back. More tailgate talk coming next week. A great guest is going to join us. In fact, we're going to talk about someone who not only caught a 35-pound salmon, which led to cashing a $25,000 check, but the fact that it was done in a kayak. This is really, really cool. And we're going to get to that next week on Tailgate Talk. We'll catch you then.